The crash. The luxury cruise ship Stellar Trombone had been the epitome of interstellar travel, until everything went wrong. 12-year-old Penelope Quinn sat in the formal dining hall, stabbing at what the menu optimistically called chef's surprise, while her parents discussed alien mating rituals with other passengers. The boredom was mind-numbing. Penelope had spent 3 days on this vacation, listening to adults drone on about xenoanthropology while she yearned for adventure. She was constructing an elaborate escape plan involving dinner rolls when the ship lurched violently. Chaos erupted. Passengers screamed as gravity shifted, sending everything sliding across the elegant dining hall. The ship's robot quartet short-circuited, switching from classical music to what sounded like death metal. Captain Nebula's voice crackled over the intercom, "We're experiencing a slight technical difficulty, a small tear in spacetime. Please return to your cabins," while screaming internally. While adults ran around in panic, Penelope saw her chance. She had memorized the ship's layout during the boring voyage, including the escape pods on Deck 7. As the ship groaned and tilted at impossible angles, she slipped away from the chaos. The corridor to the evacuation pods was deserted. Everyone else had fled in the opposite direction. Penelope reached the door just as another violent tremor sent her sprawling into the opening. Inside, a single escape pod remained, sleek, egg-shaped, and alarmingly small. The ship made her decision easier by tilting at a gravity-defying angle. She tumbled into the pod as the door hissed shut behind her. "Welcome to Emergency Evacuation Unit 629, announced a pleasant voice. "Please state your destination preference." "Away from here," Penelope shouted as explosions rocked the dying ship. "Selecting nearest habitable planet, Earth. Estimated arrival, 17 minutes. Through the viewport, she watched the stellar trombone collapse in on itself like crushed origami. She pressed her face against the glass, searching for other escape pods, for any sign her parents had made it out. Nothing. The vastness of space had never felt so empty. The pod's thrusters engaged, propelling her toward the blue-green planet below. As Earth grew larger in the viewport, one thought echoed in her mind: she was 12 years old, alone, and about to crash land on an alien world with no way home. First contact. The journey through Earth's atmosphere was like being inside a blender set to apocalyptic. Penelope white-knuckled the harness straps as the pod bucked and shuddered, superheated air screaming past the hull. "Impact in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the pleasant voice announced. The pod hit the forest floor with a bone-jarring thud, bounced twice, rolled through bushes, and finally came to rest against an ancient oak tree. Silence fell, broken only by confused woodland creatures wondering what had just disturbed their morning. Penelope sat motionless, taking inventory. Everything seemed attached and functioning, a pleasant surprise. The pod door released with a pneumatic sigh, revealing a misty forest bathed in golden morning light. She stepped out cautiously, her shoes sinking into damp earth. The air smelled of pine and something earthy and unfamiliar. Birds called to each other in the canopy above. It would have been peaceful if not for the smoking wreckage and the crushing realization that she was alone on an alien planet. "Right," she said aloud, her voice small in the forest's vastness. "Step 1, figure out where I am. Step 2, find civilization. Step 3, contact space authorities." She paused. "Step 4, try not to get eaten by whatever makes that sound." That sound was a low, rumbling growl coming from her left. Penelope froze. Slowly, she turned toward the noise. Through the undergrowth, she made out a shape, large, furry, and definitely not a squirrel. "Hello?" she called, immediately regretting it. The growling stopped. Branches cracked as the creature moved, emerging into a shaft of sunlight. Penelope gasped. It stood roughly her height, covered in tawny fur that gleamed gold in the sunlight. Its face was almost human, with a broad nose and large, expressive blue eyes that were an impossible shade. One pointed ear twitched nervously, the other was partially torn. But what caught Penelope's attention was the wound on its temple, fresh, bleeding, with what looked unmistakably like a bullet graze. The creature swayed, those remarkable blue eyes blinking slowly as it regarded her. It opened its mouth, revealing sharp teeth, and made a sound halfway between a whimper and a word. Then it collapsed face-first onto the forest floor with a thud that scattered nearby birds. Penelope stood frozen, her mind racing through xenobiology databases her parents had made her study. Nothing matched this creature. It wasn't in any catalogued species from the 27 officially contacted planets. Her scientific curiosity overwhelmed her caution. She approached slowly, ready to bolt if it stirred. Up close, she could see its fur was matted with blood and dirt. The head wound looked worse from this angle, definitely from a projectile weapon. "You're hurt," she said unnecessarily. The creature, being unconscious, didn't respond to this observation. Penelope knelt beside it, her mind working furiously. She was stranded on Earth with no way to contact home, and now she had an injured alien creature that someone had clearly tried to kill. A twig snapped somewhere in the forest. Then another. Footsteps, growing closer. The hunt. Penelope looked down at the unconscious creature, then at the approaching footsteps. Her heart hammered as she made a split-second decision that would change everything. She couldn't carry the creature, but she could hide it. Grabbing fallen branches and leaves, she quickly camouflaged the alien just as three figures emerged from the trees. They were human, or at least, they looked human. Two men and a woman, all wearing military-style clothing and carrying weapons that didn't look like anything from Earth's current technology level. Their eyes had an odd, calculating quality that made Penelope's skin crawl. "Well, well," said the woman, her voice carrying a strange accent. "What do we have here?" "A little girl, all alone in the woods." I crashed," Penelope stammered, gesturing toward her pod. "My escape pod malfunctioned." The taller man studied her with interest. "Escape pod? From where, little one?" Penelope's mind raced. These people were asking the wrong questions. If they were truly from Earth, they should be amazed by her story, not casually accepting space travel as normal. "The cruise ship," she said carefully. "It had an accident." "Ah," the woman nodded. "And you wouldn't happen to have seen anything unusual during your dramatic arrival? Perhaps something that didn't belong?" The unconscious creature's shallow breathing seemed impossibly loud to Penelope. "Like what?" "Oh, you'd know it if you saw it," the second man said with a cruel smile. "About your size, covered in fur, probably injured. We've been tracking it for hours." "Why?" The question slipped out before Penelope could stop it. The three exchanged glances. "It's dangerous," the woman said finally. "A failed experiment that escaped. We're here to contain it." Penelope's blood ran cold. These weren't rescue workers or even Earth military. They were hunters, and they were after the creature she'd just hidden. "I haven't seen anything like that," she lied smoothly. "Just trees and birds and normal forest stuff." The tall man approached the escape pod, examining the scorch marks and dents. "Interesting technology. Very advanced for a simple cruise ship." "It was a really nice cruise ship," Penelope said weakly. The woman stepped closer, her eyes never leaving Penelope's face. "You know, child, lying to us would be very unwise. We have ways of finding the truth." But before she could continue, a distant sound echoed through the forest, the unmistakable whine of more spacecraft approaching. The three hunters tensed, exchanging urgent looks. "The cleanup crew," the second man muttered. "They're early. We need to find it now," the woman hissed. "Before they sterilize the whole area." Sterilize. The word sent ice through Penelope's veins. Whatever these people were planning, it wasn't good, for her or the creature. "Split up," the tall man ordered. "Search grid pattern. The tracking data shows it fell somewhere in this sector." As they separated, disappearing back into the trees, Penelope waited until their footsteps faded. Then she rushed back to the hidden creature, quickly brushing away the camouflage. It was still unconscious, but its breathing seemed a bit stronger. She glanced up at the sky, where the sound of approaching aircraft was growing louder. "I don't know who you are," she whispered to the creature, "but those people want to hurt you. And something tells me they're not the good guys." She had to make a choice: stay hidden and hope the hunters passed by, or risk everything to save a being she'd just met. The creature's eyes suddenly fluttered open, those impossible blue orbs focusing on her face. It tried to speak, producing a sound that was almost words but not quite. That decided it. Penelope Quinn, 12 years old and stranded on an alien world, was about to become a protector of the innocent, whether she was ready or not. The bond. "Can you move?" Penelope whispered urgently as the aircraft sounds grew closer. The creature struggled to sit up, wincing as it touched the wound on its temple. When it spoke, the words were clearer now, though accented in a way that reminded Penelope of singing, "They hunt me. Always hunting." "Who are they?" Penelope helped steady the creature as it swayed. "Slavers. From the outer territories. Was property." The creature's blue eyes filled with pain that wasn't entirely physical. "I escaped their ship when it crashed here 3 days ago." 3 days. The same time the stellar trombone had been experiencing its technical difficulties. Penelope's mind made the connection: the tear in spacetime that destroyed her ship might have brought down the slaver's vessel too. "What's your name?" she asked. The creature made a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "In your language, it is closest to Kale." "I'm Penelope." "And Kale?" She looked directly into those remarkable eyes. "I'm not going to let them take you." Kale stared at her in amazement. "You would help. But you do not know me. Your species has no obligation." "My species doesn't leave people to die," Penelope said firmly, though she wondered if that was entirely true. "Come on, we need to move. Can you walk?" Kale nodded, though when he stood, he had to lean heavily on Penelope's shoulder. Together, they moved deeper into the forest, away from the crash site and the approaching sounds of the cleanup crew. As they walked, Kale explained in whispered fragments. His people, the Veiltar, were from a peaceful world in the Andromeda Spiral. The slavers had attacked without warning, capturing survivors to sell in the black markets of the outer territories. "But why Earth?" Penelope asked as they paused to rest beside a small stream. "Random jump. When ship damaged in your spacetime tear, emergency protocols chose nearest habitable world." Kale drank deeply from the stream, the water seeming to restore some of his strength. "Earth not supposed to have space travel yet. Made it perfect hiding place. Perfect except for the fact that they followed you here." "Not followed. Already here. This planet." Kale's ears twitched nervously. "Is staging ground. They collect specimens from many worlds, bring here to process before selling." The implications hit Penelope like a physical blow. "They're using Earth as a slave market. Your authorities do not know. The outer territories are very subtle." "But yes." A distant shout echoed through the trees. The hunters were closing in. "This way," Penelope whispered, leading Kale toward what looked like a cave opening in a rocky outcrop. Inside the cave, they found themselves in a natural chamber lit by phosphorescent minerals. Kale touched the walls wonderingly. "Beautiful. On my world, we have caves like this. Sacred places." "Kale," Penelope said quietly, "those aircraft, what are they going to do?" His expression grew grim. "Cleanup crew will sterilize evidence. Make it look like natural forest fire or similar disaster. Then they leave, and slavers continue operations elsewhere on planet." "What about me? I'm evidence too." Kale met her eyes. "They will not let you live with this knowledge. The reality of her situation finally sank in completely. She wasn't just helping an escaped slave, she was signing her own death warrant by refusing to cooperate with the hunters. But as she looked at Cale, seeing the hope and gratitude in his alien features, she knew she couldn't have made any other choice. "Then we'd better make sure they don't find us," she said with more confidence than she felt. Outside the cave, the sounds of the hunt were growing closer. But inside, in the soft glow of the phosphorescent walls, a 12-year-old human girl and an escaped alien slave began planning their survival, and maybe, if they were very lucky and very brave, their escape from Earth itself. The escape. For 2 days, they hid in the cave system, living on stream water and the emergency rations from Penelope's escape pod. Cale's wound healed with remarkable speed, and he taught Penelope basic words in his musical language while she shared stories of her parents' xenoanthropological work. "They would have loved to meet you," she said wistfully on the second evening. "Real contact with a peaceful species." "They may yet," Cale replied gently. "Do not abandon hope." But hope seemed distant when they heard the aircraft return on the third morning. Through the cave entrance, they watched smoke rising from the forest. The cleanup crew was making good on their promise to sterilize the area. "We cannot stay here," Cale said, his keen ears picking up sounds Penelope couldn't detect. "They are moving in grid pattern. We'll find cave soon." That's when Penelope remembered something her father had once told her about Earth's history with unidentified flying objects. "Cale, your people, do they have any monitoring stations in this solar system? Any way to contact them?" "There is a listening post on your moon," he said slowly. "But how could we possibly?" "My escape pod." Penelope's eyes lit up. "It's designed for interstellar communication. If we can get back to it and boost the signal." They waited until nightfall, then crept through the smoky forest back toward the crash site. The area was crawling with cleanup crews, but they moved like ghosts, using Cale's natural stealth abilities and Penelope's surprising talent for staying invisible. The escape pod was exactly where she'd left it, though it was now surrounded by scanning equipment. 2 guards stood watch while technicians examined the alien technology. "I need to get inside," Penelope whispered. "Can you create a distraction?" Cale smiled, showing those sharp teeth. "I have been running from them for days. Time to let them catch up." He melted into the shadows, then appeared at the far edge of the clearing. The guards shouted and gave chase, leaving the technicians scrambling for weapons. In the confusion, Penelope slipped into her pod. The communication system was damaged but functional. She activated the emergency beacon and began transmitting on the frequency Cale had given her, a desperate message in broken Veiltar, hoping someone was listening. "Kael'tar salvage Earth. Specimen escaped. Need immediate extraction. 2 survivors, coordinates as follows." The response came faster than she dared hope, a melodious voice speaking in accented English. "Message received, young one. Rescue craft en route. Maintain position." But maintaining position became impossible when the technicians returned with reinforcements. Penelope barely escaped the pod before energy weapons began firing, reducing her only link to civilization to molten slag. She found Cale wounded again, backed against a tree by 3 armed slavers. The woman from the forest was there, her face twisted with rage. 3 days of chasing shadows, she snarled. "But now we have you both." "Actually," said a new voice from above, "you don't." A ship descended from the night sky, sleek, elegant, and completely silent. Penelope had never seen anything so beautiful. The slavers opened fire, but their weapons seemed to have no effect on the craft's hull. A beam of soft light enveloped both Penelope and Cale, lifting them gently into the air. As they rose, Penelope saw the slavers and their equipment simply disappearing. Not destroyed, just fading away as if they'd never been there. "Memory adjustment," Cale explained weakly as they were pulled aboard the rescue ship. "They will remember only a gas leak and forest fire." The ship's crew were all Veiltar, their blue eyes wide with amazement as they examined Penelope. The captain, an elderly female with silver-streaked fur, knelt before her. "Little human," she said in perfect English, "you have saved one of our own at great risk to yourself. The Veiltar do not forget such kindness." "What about the other slavers?" Penelope asked. "The ones operating on Earth? Their facility has been located and neutralized. Their prisoners freed and returned to their homes. Earth's governments will find evidence of their own making that explains the disappearances." As the ship lifted away from Earth's atmosphere, Penelope pressed her face to the viewport, watching her temporary home shrink below. "What happens to me now? My parents?" The captain smiled gently. "We monitored all escape pods from the stellar trombone. Your parents are safe aboard a Federation rescue vessel, frantically searching for their missing daughter. You will be reunited within the hour. And Kale will return to our homeworld as a hero, and as our first cultural ambassador to humanity. This is not goodbye, young Penelope. It is the beginning of a beautiful friendship between our peoples." As the rescue ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying her toward the reunion she'd thought impossible, Penelope Quinn realized that sometimes the best adventures begin with the worst disasters. She'd lost her boring vacation but gained something far more valuable, the knowledge that in a universe full of wonders and terrors, kindness and courage could still make all the difference. 6 months later, when the first official contact between Earth and the Veiltar was announced, a 12-year-old girl smiled as she watched the news with her parents. The reporters called it humanity's greatest moment, the beginning of a new age of interstellar cooperation and understanding. They had no idea it had all started with a girl who refused to leave an alien to die. The end.